What if I tell you that this wasn't here 8 months ago? I cut everything to this level on this side. And now you know why I have these big loppers. Propagating is one of the great parts of the bonsai hobby. And if you do, then you get plants like this after 3 or 4 years. The question, however, is what do you do when you have another batch of young cuttings of this year coming up? Well, what I'm going to do, I'm going to plant them up in my growing bed. This growing bed is a couple of kilometers down the road, so let's grab a car. I'm going to take a spade, I'm going to take some weeding equipment, because it's been a long time since I've been there. I'll show you a couple of trunks that have been growing out there for the last decade, and then I'll show you how I plant these up and let them grow for 2, 3, 4, 5, 10 years. Hey, this is Jelle, growing bonsai, and we are in my growing bed. It is growing so well in the ground, trunks fatten up enormously. It looks really overgrown. It is really overgrown. I haven't been here for quite some time. I think I'll have to clean up a little bit before I can plant anything. And I guess we can go in. There's an entrance again. Right, so this is what it looks like after a season of growth and me not coming here all season long. It's all overgrown. These are larches here growing out, trident maple, weeds, lots of weeds, and there's not a lot of sun coming through anymore. So I think I'll have to open up the canopy a little bit around me, because really these are all elms growing out around me. But look at that. These are really growing nice big trunks now, quite fat, but really in need of a trim back. There's a lot of smaller trunks here at the bottom as well. Let's clean this up a little bit. I am sitting right between a Chinese elm or a Siberian elm. I'm not sure, to be honest. If you do know, let me know. And a corkbark elm. Both are about the same age. This was a cutting 3 years ago. This was a seed 3 years ago. This is not getting any light. Not aided in this elm sitting on the side here. And some more elms in the back. But this one is taking most of the light. Now this trunk, you can see here, has been cut this spring. It has re-sprouted, it has regrown. And now actually it is time to cut it again. I'm going to cut it here and here. I'm taking this side branch off. So this is all that I'm keeping from this year's growing season. Now this one I can just clip off with my normal clippers, I think. But for this one and that one, I think I need something stronger. This one might work. No, I need something bigger. And now you know why I have these big loppers. It's not for my regular bonsai. But here they work wonders. Right. Look at that light coming in. Really impressive growth for 1 year, from there to there. Next time I need to bring in some concave cutters and clean these up. But for now, for the start of winter, this is perfect. All these small ones behind now also get light. This trident maple that sits here, half falling over. Now there's a lot of little trunks growing here, but because I haven't been here most of the year, this is all overgrown and it really is time to prune back again. I pruned here this year and I hoped for lower sprouts, but it didn't. So this one I'm just going to cut even shorter to here maybe, but I'll leave this for now. For the rest of the year this can still retrieve nutrients from the leaves, fatten up the trunk. So I'll come back in a month or so to prune this out further. Well, this was the sunniest spot in the garden, which is why all these pines are growing here. And I thought I cleaned it up well in spring, but yeah, one growing season is all you need to get this completely overgrown. This was where I wanted to put these junipers, but yeah, first need to clean this out more. So many weeds, and it's not going to be better next year. And for the pines it's really important to get some sun on the lower branches. Otherwise it will drop the lower branches and then it's not an interesting pine anymore. This is no good. There's actually pines in here. They're still alive. This is no good. This is so bad. Right, ready for planting, cleared for takeoff. Look at these pines, they do have nice trunks on them. And of course we want some light. Forsythia, gone. Salcova serrata, Ganomelus, the thorny one. Malus, Chinese elm, and more Forsythia. And for in-ground growing, I prefer to unwire these because they can start fattening up very quickly once rooted well. So I take off all the wires before I leave my house, and I'll check them again once I'm there and then planting them up, because I tend to forget wires. And I'm not going to bare root them. I'm just taking them out of the pot. Take a little and plant them like this. All planted up, ready to grow out. And these are my pines that are growing out. You can see the bark is getting rough. Lower branches look very weak though because of all the weeds that were growing in between. Let's just hope that they recover until spring. Here the lower branches seem to have died already. My larches have grown out quite substantially, all from this year, and now in fall I just do a gentle profile prune. This way you encourage the backbudding, keep the lower branches. I stop them from growing too tall, but make it more complex than it needs to be. Now this is another long-term project of mine. Not sure if you can see, but the trunk underneath here is 5-6 inches, and this is a Prunus koio-no-mai. This is the spring flowering decorative Prunus that you get in every garden center in April. And I've put one in the ground and the trunk is really fattening up now. Now what you see growing here, this is a linden. It's 5-6 inches thick, been pruned back every single year, so there's lots of small pruning scars but no real big ones. And this is also why I have the very small linden in a pot. I can trial growing linden in a pot before this big one comes out and is planted into a pot into my garden. Another 2 or 3 years I would expect. What you see here is a side branch, and this here is the main trunk. Actually the main trunk is probably going to be here, or this could become the main trunk by cutting it off here. Then I have a nice movement, and this or this could be the new leader. This one is never going to be the new leader. This one or this one. So in fall I do go through my whole growing bed and I check all these trees. And then just let this become the new tree and take that off completely. This is too much. Can't go all the way around it here, I think. No, I'll need to bring in a saw next time, and then I'll cut this flush. Then have a very nice trunk line. Cool. What you'll find in this jungle is branches like this, and you might wonder, where does it actually come from? And then you start looking underneath all the cut off branches, and it actually comes from this tree. This tree is a field maple, so here all these little branches, but there's a nice little new top branch coming up here. So I can try to squeeze this here in between, around that little branch, and take the whole top out. And this can grow as a new top. But this is one of those things that happen in your growing plot. Here this branch going there, all the way to the base. It will have fattened the base quite a bit. Let's take it off. Now of course, if you start looking here between the leaves, all these little branches that come up here are all connected to this main trunk here. So over winter I'm going to have to pull this out of the ground, do root pruning, prune off all these little side branches and then plant it back up. Very nice and white at the base, tapering off. And this is another one of these nicely tapered field maples that is coming out in a few years. So nice to see how just pruning away a few big stumps, there and there, can create so much space. Now these have a lot more space to develop and they'll get more light and they'll be a lot more healthier going into winter. And then over winter I'll have to prune these. Now I've got a few videos on big yews. What you might not know, I have quite a few more standing here in the ground. These have been in the ground for maybe 10 years now here. And I've been pruning them back every single year. Really harshly cutting back. At some points I'm just pulling off the branches so that they get nice scarring on them. But these are really ready to come out of the ground and be put in a pot as well. So maybe this winter I'll pull off one of these out and put it in a pot and work through the styling of it. Some of these trees I really let grow very, very tall. Look at this trunk here. It is almost perfectly straight and that's on purpose. I'm going to make a broom out of it. This is an elm. I'm not sure whether I'm going to dig it out and then cut it back, or cut it back, leave it for a year and then dig it out. I'll have to do a bit of a soul searching what I prefer. So this is growing really well and there's some more here behind me. And these all grew, all of this year. Look at that. This is the power of ground growing. This is how fast it can go if you put things in the ground. Unfortunately, the scarring also grows very quickly when you grow it in the ground. Now if you look here, this was cut off in spring, this was cut off the year before, and you just see very ugly transitions. I should of course come in with a knob cutter and clean that out and then prune it back. Now and this is what you get when you try to force a Forsythia, which is actually a shrub and not a tree, to form one single trunk. This originally was the main trunk, that died. Then another one came up, that died. Now this one has come up, it is still healthy, but you see here from the base, a very new healthy whip coming up. These really want to grow in a multi-trunk fashion, and trying to get one trunk in taper, cutting back frequently, will cause you lots of headaches. So better Forsythia to just let it grow big, cut back and see what lives. Growing it out as a trunk, that's a difficult endeavor. I've been going here for 7-8 years now. It's not giving me any pleasure. And I guess with that I'll end the tour of my grow bed. A little bit cut back, but still quite overgrown. This was Jelle, growing bonsai. See you next time.